For centuries, one ruler stood above all others. He commanded the most powerful empire on earth. He was called the Magnificent by his enemies and the lawgiver by his own people. This is the story of Sultan Suleiman. Let's begin. Sultan Suleiman. Chapter 1. A Prince by the Black Sea. In the year 1494, a baby boy was born in the city of Trabzon. Trabzon sat on the coast of the Black Sea in the north of Turkey. The baby's name was Suleiman. His father was Selim, a strong and serious man. His mother was Ayşe Hafsa, a kind and gentle woman. The family belonged to the Ottoman dynasty. This family had ruled a huge empire for 200 years. The Ottoman Empire stretched across 3 continents. It touched Europe, Asia, and Africa. Little Suleiman did not know it yet. One day, he would rule this empire himself. Young Suleiman grew up far from the empire's great capital. The capital was Istanbul, a busy city full of markets, mosques, and ships. But Suleiman spent his childhood in Trabzon and other cities. As a young prince, he learned many important skills. He studied poetry, history, and science. He learned to speak several languages. He also learned to fight with swords and ride horses. Ottoman princes trained hard because life at court was dangerous. Brothers often fought each other for power. Suleiman needed to be smart, patient, and strong. The world around young Suleiman was full of change. The Ottoman Empire was already one of the richest powers on earth. Istanbul buzzed with traders from Persia, Venice, and Egypt. Merchants sold silk, spices, and beautiful carpets in crowded markets. Skilled builders raised tall mosques with graceful domes. Wise readers studied in quiet libraries filled with old books. Music and poetry filled the evenings in the palace gardens. Suleiman grew up surrounded by this rich and colorful culture. He loved to read and write poems. He also loved to learn about the empire's long history. Suleiman's father, Selim, was known as a fierce ruler. People called him Selim the Grim because he was so tough. Selim fought many wars and made the empire twice as large. He won new lands in the Middle East. He was often away from home, leading his armies. Because of this, Suleiman spent much time with his mother. Ayşe Hafsa taught him kindness and careful thinking. She believed a great ruler needed a wise heart, not just a strong sword. This lesson stayed with Suleiman for his whole life. As a teenager, Suleiman became a governor, a leader who runs one part of a country. This job helped him learn how to lead people. He listened to farmers, traders, and local officials. He learned how taxes worked and how laws helped a city run smoothly. He watched how his father solved problems and made decisions. Slowly, people began to see him in a new way. People said he was calm, fair, and thoughtful. This was very different from his father's quick, fierce anger. Many people in the empire began to watch this young prince closely. They wondered what kind of sultan he would become. Life in the palace followed a careful daily rhythm. Suleiman woke early and studied with his teachers. In the afternoon, he practiced archery and horse riding in the courtyard. In the evening, he listened to musicians play soft songs. Servants moved quietly through long hallways decorated with colorful tiles. Guards in tall hats stood watch at every gate. Outside the palace walls, ordinary life felt very different. Fishermen sailed out each morning on the Bosphorus Strait. Bakers filled the streets with the smell of fresh bread. Children played games near the old stone fountains. Suleiman often wondered about the lives of these ordinary people. He promised himself that one day He would rule for them too. In 1520, everything changed for Suleiman. His father, Selim, became very sick. After a difficult illness, Selim died that same year. Suleiman was only 25 years old. Now, the entire Ottoman Empire looked to him. He traveled to Istanbul to take his father's place. The city welcomed him with music, cheering crowds, and bright flags. Suleiman stood before his people as their new sultan. His childhood in Trabzon and his years as governor had prepared him well. Now, a new chapter of his life was about to begin. Chapter 2: The Rise of a Powerful Sultan. When Suleiman became sultan in 1520, he was young but ready. He did not want to simply keep his father's empire safe. He wanted to make it stronger and greater. Soon after taking power, Suleiman planned his first war. He looked toward Europe, where new lands waited to be won. In 1521, his armies marched toward the city of Belgrade. Belgrade sat on the border between Europe and the Ottoman lands. After a hard fight, Suleiman's forces captured the city. This victory made Europe take notice of the young sultan. The next year, Suleiman set his eyes on the island of Rhodes. Rhodes belonged to a group of Christian knights. These knights often attacked Ottoman ships in the sea. Suleiman gathered a huge army and a strong navy. He sailed to Rhodes and surrounded the island. After months of fighting, the knights finally gave up. Suleiman showed mercy, a kind choice not to punish them and let them leave peacefully. This kindness surprised many people across Europe. Word spread that the new sultan was both powerful and fair. During these years, Suleiman built a close friendship with a man named Ibrahim. Ibrahim was clever, charming, and full of good ideas. Suleiman made him his grand vizier, the most powerful helper in the whole empire. Together, Suleiman and Ibrahim planned wars and wrote new laws. They also managed the empire's huge wealth. Ibrahim traveled with Suleiman on many military trips. He became almost like a brother to the Sultan. Many people in the palace admired their close bond. Others quietly felt jealous of Ibrahim's growing power. In 1526, Suleiman led his army into Hungary. At the Battle of Mohacs, his forces won a huge and famous victory. This battle opened the door to Central Europe. Suleiman's empire now stretched deep into the continent. Kings and queens across Europe grew worried about his power. They called him Suleiman the Magnificent because his empire was so grand. But inside the empire, people gave him a different name. They called him Kanuni, which means the lawgiver. This name came from his work on justice and fair laws. Suleiman believed that a strong empire needed more than just soldiers. It also needed fair rules for everyone. He created a new set of laws for his people. These laws covered taxes, land, crime, and daily life. Suleiman wanted farmers, traders, and workers to feel protected. He also built schools, hospitals, and libraries across the empire. He supported artists, poets, and skilled builders. Under his rule, the city of Istanbul grew more beautiful every year. New mosques rose above the rooftops. Bridges, fountains, and public baths appeared in every neighborhood. Visitors from other lands often described Istanbul with wonder. They wrote about its busy harbors full of tall ships. They wrote about its covered markets packed with silk, spices, and gold. They admired the great dome of the old Hagia Sophia, once a church and now a mosque. Foreign guests met Suleiman in halls covered with beautiful tiles. They saw a ruler who spoke calmly and thought carefully before every decision. This good name spread quickly across Europe and Asia. Many rulers wanted peace with such a powerful and thoughtful sultan. Suleiman's power kept growing throughout the 1520s and 1530s. His armies won battles in Europe, Asia, and along the coast of Africa. His navy controlled large parts of the Mediterranean Sea. Traders from many countries sailed to Ottoman ports to do business. Suleiman's empire became known as one of the strongest in the world. Yet Suleiman never stopped working. He read reports every day. He met with his advisors and studied maps of distant lands. He wanted his empire to last for many generations. His rise to power was only the beginning of his story. Chapter 3: Love, Rivals, and Rising Tension. Inside the palace, Suleiman's life was not only about war and laws. He also fell deeply in love. A young woman named Hurrem lived in the palace. People had brought her there long ago from a distant region we now call Ukraine. Hurrem was smart, quick, and full of energy. She quickly learned the language and customs of the palace. Suleiman noticed her right away. Most rulers of his time kept many wives and treated them all the same. Suleiman was different. He fell truly and deeply in love with just one woman. Suleiman and Hurrem's bond grew stronger every year. He wrote her beautiful love poems, calling her his only love. This was unusual for a sultan who normally had many wives. Eventually, Suleiman made Hurrem his official wife. This decision shocked the palace and the whole empire. Many advisors did not like this change. They believed the sultan should not depend so much on one woman. But Suleiman did not care about their doubts. He trusted her sharp mind and asked for her opinion often. She began to gain real power in palace matters. Hurrem was not only loved by Suleiman, she was also clever with words and ideas. She wrote letters to Suleiman when he traveled far away for war. She asked about his health and shared news from the palace. She also began to help him with difficult decisions. Some advisors respected her sharp mind. Others felt uneasy about a woman holding so much influence. Whispers spread through the palace hallways. People wondered how far her power would reach. Suleiman, however, trusted her completely, and nothing could change his mind. As Hurrem's power grew, tension in the palace grew too. Suleiman's old friend, Ibrahim, still served as Grand Vizier. But some people worried about his growing wealth and pride. They whispered that Ibrahim acted too much like a second sultan. Slowly, trust between Suleiman and Ibrahim began to break. In 1536, something shocking happened. Suleiman ordered Ibrahim's death. Historians still debate the real reason for this choice. Some believe jealousy played a part. Others believe Ibrahim had grown too proud and careless with power. This event shocked the entire empire. Meanwhile, another kind of tension grew inside Suleiman's own family. Suleiman had several sons from different mothers. His oldest son, Mustafa, was brave, popular, and well-liked by the army. Many soldiers hoped Mustafa would become the next sultan. However, Hurrem had her own sons too. She wanted one of her own sons to sit on the throne, the special seat of a ruler, instead. Slowly, a quiet rivalry began between Mustafa and Hurrem's family. Palace officials picked sides. Rumors spread through every hallway. The empire's future suddenly felt uncertain and tense. The rivalry grew more serious as the years passed. Some advisors warned Suleiman that Mustafa was becoming too popular. They suggested that Mustafa might try to take power early. Suleiman began to worry deeply about betrayal, the pain of being let down by someone close. He remembered his own family's violent history. Many Ottoman princes had fought bloody wars for power before him. Suleiman did not want this history to repeat. Fear and doubt slowly filled his mind. The loving father and wise ruler now faced an impossible choice. In 1553, tension inside the family reached its peak. During a military trip in the east, Suleiman called his son Mustafa to him. Advisors close to Suleiman convinced him that Mustafa planned to rise up against him. Historians still question whether this claim was true. Sadly, Suleiman ordered his own son's death that day. The army and the people were shocked and heartbroken. Many soldiers had loved Mustafa deeply. This sad event left a lasting shadow over Suleiman's time as ruler. Even a magnificent sultan could not escape the painful cost of power and fear. Chapter 4: The Final Battle and a Lasting Legacy. By the 1560s, Suleiman was growing old. He had ruled the Ottoman Empire for over 40 years. His body grew weaker, but his mind stayed sharp. Around him, the world kept changing. New rivals rose in Europe. Trade routes shifted across the seas. Suleiman knew his empire needed careful attention even as he aged. Despite his age and tiredness, he refused to stay home and rest. Trouble appeared on the border with Hungary. Suleiman decided to lead one more campaign himself. In 1566, Suleiman set out for Hungary with his army. He was now 71 years old. The journey was long and hard for a man his age. Still, Suleiman insisted on traveling with his soldiers. His target was a strong walled town called Sigetvar. This town blocked the Ottoman path into Central Europe. Suleiman's army surrounded the town and began a long siege, a wait outside its walls to force it to give up. The defenders inside fought bravely for weeks. The summer heat was intense, and the fighting was slow and difficult. During this long wait, Suleiman's health finally failed him. On the night of September 6th, 1566, the great Sultan died quietly in his tent. He was very close to final victory. His advisors faced a difficult problem right away. If the soldiers learned their Sultan had died, their spirit to fight might collapse. So his advisors kept his death a secret for many days. They pretended he was simply resting inside his tent. Meanwhile, the fighting continued, and the town finally fell to Ottoman forces. The truth came out only after that. Suleiman's son, Selim, became the new sultan after his father's death. The empire mourned deeply, feeling great sadness for its lost leader. People carried Suleiman's body back to Istanbul with great ceremony, a formal event full of respect. Thousands of people lined the streets to say goodbye. He was buried near the magnificent mosque he had built, the Süleymaniye Mosque. This mosque still stands today, tall and beautiful, above the city of Istanbul. Its domes and tall towers remind visitors of Suleiman's incredible time as ruler. Even centuries later, the mosque remains one of the city's most treasured buildings. Today, people still remember Suleiman as one of history's greatest rulers. Under his rule, the Ottoman Empire reached its largest size and greatest wealth. He led the empire through countless wars and victories. Yet people remember him just as much for his laws and justice. His legal reforms protected ordinary people for generations after his death. His support for art, poetry, and building shaped an entire golden age. Even his love story with Hürrem still interests people today. Books, films, and television shows continue to tell their story. Suleiman's life teaches us something powerful about leadership. Great power always comes with great responsibility and hard choices. He built one of history's most magnificent empires, but he also faced painful losses within his own family. His story reminds us that even the strongest rulers are still human. They love, they fear, and they make mistakes. Suleiman left behind mosques, laws, poems, and an unforgettable story. This is Suleiman's true legacy, the mark he left behind for the world to remember. This is why, hundreds of years later, we still speak his name. Vocabulary Review. Now let's review 8 important words from our story today. The first word is dynasty. A dynasty is a family that rules a country for many years, often passing power from parent to child. In the story, we heard that this family had ruled a huge empire for 200 years. The second word is campaign. A campaign is a series of military actions with one clear goal, like winning a war. In the story, Suleiman decided to lead one more campaign himself. The third word is mercy. Mercy means kindness shown to someone, even when you have the power to hurt them. We heard that Suleiman showed mercy and let the knights leave peacefully. The fourth word is rivalry. A rivalry is a strong competition between two people or groups who both want the same thing. The story told us that a quiet rivalry began between Mustafa and Hurrem's family. The fifth word is siege. A siege happens when an army surrounds a town or fortress and waits outside until it gives up. We heard that Suleiman's army surrounded the town and began a long siege. The sixth word is betrayal. Betrayal is the pain of being let down or hurt by someone you trusted. In the story, Suleiman began to worry deeply about betrayal from those close to him. The seventh word is ceremony. A ceremony is a formal event held to mark something important, like a farewell or a celebration. We heard that people carried Suleiman's body back to Istanbul with great ceremony. The eighth word is legacy. A legacy is what a person leaves behind after they are gone, like ideas, buildings, or memories. As the story said near the end, this is Suleiman's true legacy, the mark he left behind for the world to remember. Thank you so much for listening to Suleiman's story today. Try using these new words in your own sentences this week. It's a great way to make them truly yours. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to English Lore. New stories are waiting for you every week. We will see you in the next video. Until then, keep learning and keep exploring the English language.